Hey guys, Brian with Cajun Cardboard coming at you from the great state of Louisiana. And today I bring back our frequent recurring guest, the basketball card guru, Coach Pix, is coming on the channel. We talk about Zion. Where does he rank in the NBA for real? Where does he really rank in the NBA? Is he a top 20 player? You're going to want to watch that. We're going to talk about which team in the NBA is in the best position going forward to win multiple championships. And then we're even going to go old school on you guys and go back and talk about some of these guys from the 80s. Who from the 80s could play in today's era and flourish? Who from the 80s could not transition into today's basketball and vice versa? So there's a little bit out there for everybody in today's episode. We're going to go for about an hour. If you just want to hear people bullshit about basketball, who've been there, played it, coached it for decades and decades, you're going to enjoy today's episode. Stay tuned. Thank you guys for watching. PWCC is a great way to sell your sports cards. If you're looking for a way to support the Cajun Cardboard YouTube channel, consider using the promo code CAJUN, all caps, CAJUN, when you're selling your cards on the PWCC marketplace. All right, well, here we are. I brought, due to popular demand, which is really just one comment over the last month, it has been requested, begged and pleaded for Coach Pixley to be brought back on the program. We're having a who can get their hair shortest without actually technically being bald contest. Yes. It looks like I'm winning because I got mine cut yesterday. Yeah. Welcome back to the show. We're going to talk about some actual NBA stuff because you don't know a damn thing about basketball cards.
No, I don't, and I don't care about college basketball. So, well, for the most part, but you know.
Neither one of us do. Jonathan, do you remember in the late 80s, early 90s, as old people, it was, we would either ditch school and go watch it, or we would sneak little black and white, little portable TVs into the school. I was running a March Madness betting pool. It was absolute must-see TV, and we could not possibly get enough of it. I might have filled out 40 brackets, literally, just because I was so addicted to March Madness, because all of the best players were there, and now none of the players are really relevant to me, at least.
Well, and you all the best players stayed at least 3 years. And then they stayed at the same school.
Also. Let's do this. Let's go through the NBA and look at all the guys that are in their first 3 years and then put them back at their college and then say, would we watch March Madness? I think the answer would be yes in a lot of those cases. I think freaking Anthony Edwards might even be a senior right now. You know, I mean, think of all the guys in the NBA that are in their second or third year that would just be absolutely amazing to watch especially with their other NBA teammates in college. That would be awesome, man. It would be totally a different deal.
We'll take Oklahoma City's team. What do you think they would look like?
That's right. Pretty much, right? Their whole team. That's exactly right. All right. So this is going to be interesting. You've got 3 topics we're going to discuss. You've got some honorable mention topics, which we're not, but we may push them off to another episode. I don't know what they are. So this is a potential for me to look really, really stupid. And I'll be honest with you, I've been kind of focusing on soccer for like the last 2 weeks. So I have been keeping up with my fantasy basketball team. So I've had my pulse on the NBA, but I haven't been hyper focused on the NBA. So there's a potential for me to look really, really dumb with some of these topics because I don't know what's coming. So it's not a softball. It's the opposite. It's like a 97-mile-an-hour slider for you baseball people out there. There's a good chance I'm not going to hit it.
Yeah, well, no. These are easy ones for you, for sure. Okay. The first 2 are present day, okay?
Okay.
The other one is a mix of present day and past. So I think we'll save that one for last. The first one you and I were discussing the other day, and is Nikola Jokic a top 15 player historically now?
Okay.
And I guess the question is you might consider him that right now before anything else happens in his career. I think if and when it does appear he's going to win his 3rd MVP, if he wins a 3rd MVP and wins a title, I think it's indisputable he's in your top 15. Who does he bump? Right? Who's in your top 15? Right?
That's the issue. Who's in your 10 to 20, right? Because I think both of our 10 to 15s would include each of our respective, without having discussed this, 10 to 20s. So we may disagree on 10 to 15,
Right.
but I doubt if any of my top 15 would not be in your top 20. That is highly unlikely. And then the question is, where does Jokic fit if he gets kicked by one of his horses tomorrow and can no longer play basketball? God forbid, right? But can we agree this is his MVP? Like, is there any way he doesn't win this?
No, he has to win this. Yeah.
This is his MVP. No SGA. Nothing SGA can do.
I don't think so.
Why?
I guess how many games are left? 10?
There are 9 or 10 games left, depending on the team, I think. Yes, but why? Why are his statistics? And I haven't. Again, this is where I'm going to feign ignorance because I haven't hyper focused on this because I was waiting until we get a little closer. Yeah. Are his statistics so immeasurably better than SGA that it just can't be a conversation? Because I'm looking at the Western Conference, Jonathan, and the Nuggets are a half game ahead of Oklahoma City. The Nuggets were expected to win the West. The Thunder were certainly not expected to contend for the West. Good up-and-coming team, loaded with talent, loaded with draft picks. We're going to talk a lot more about the Thunder in this episode. But I guess from a shock factor, is the world not more surprised? And usually the MVP is a shock factor deal. Like Embiid came out of nowhere, he took it, right? Even though he may not have deserved it, right? SGA has come out of, I don't want to say out of nowhere because he was first team All-NBA last year, but statistically speaking, silliness right now this year. He's, in Jokic's in the conversation with Jokic. Why are we just going to give it to him? And I'm agreeing with you because the Vegas odds look to be overwhelmingly in Jokic's favor last time I checked.
Well, if you take, and I'm just looking at him right now, okay? So if you have Jokic, it's 26.1 points, 12.2 rebounds, 9 assists, 58 from the field, okay? SGA is 30.4, and then 5.5 rebounds, 6 assists, 54 from the field. So statistically, it's not that close. Obviously SGA outscores him by a couple baskets a game, but I think the reason why I'm saying it's his to lose is because it's become what everybody has assumed, right? It's what everybody is talking about now. It's almost like it's going to, the fact that every single analyst comes out and says, yes, Jokic should be the MVP today, right? Any podcast you listen to, Jokic should be the MVP today. So
yeah,
I'm with you. Like, if you want to talk about shock value, yeah, SGA definitely has to be in the conversation. And he would be number 2, which to me is a little bit too much of a foregone conclusion because of Giannis, right? When you look at Giannis's numbers, overall, they're better than SGA's numbers. But his team hasn't outperformed Oklahoma City and so on and so forth. So I don't know. I think when you look at it, head to head, you look at, he's a 3-point percentage. SGA is a little bit better, free throw percentage better, but yeah, I mean,
he's better. Jokic is better. His team's a half a game ahead. It's funny because if Jokic had won it last year, instead of Embiid, we might be talking about SGA, but because we don't have that, you know how that dumb shit works, Why are we not discussing the player that's having the greatest statistical season since Wilt Chamberlain?
Thank you. Exactly. And Luka's numbers, go ahead, pull them up if you can so everybody can take a look at them. Because when you look at, I texted you this last week, I was like, are we paying attention to what Luka's doing, right? I mean, when you look at his statistics, nobody's done this since Wilt.
Nobody's done this.
Yeah.
Is this going to give me their whole career? Hang on.
Yeah, but it'll give you today as well.
I screwed it up.
Okay. Yeah. If you look, I'll pull it up too.
I got it.
You got it? Okay.
Oh,
I mean, the fact that the guy, just listen to these numbers, okay? 34 a game, 9 rebounds, 9.8 assists, 48.7 from the field. Okay. I got to look at 3-point percentage if I can find
It's up there. Yeah.
3-point percentage is 37.4, 78.7 from the line. I mean, dude, it's absurd to think about what he's doing. I mean,
yep. I wanted to look at PER.
34, 9, and 10.
Yeah. These guys, God, man, these guys are just ridiculous. Where's PER? Why can't I find PER on my screen? Am I blind? There it is. 28.2 for Doncic, 31 for Jokic. That's really high.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. All right, well, we're getting sidetracked here. So, sorry, what was your topic?
Is Jokic a top 15 player
of all time if he dies tomorrow?
Today, now.
Well, today. Let's let him get it. Let's let him die right after he gets the MVP, and let's say he doesn't win the title.
Okay, he's still top 15 in your opinion. One title.
You've seen the list of NBA players that have gotten 3 MVPs. There's only one of them that's not in the top 15.
Moses Malone. And he's not in the top 15, I guess, is he?
I don't think he would be in most people's top 15. Rightly or wrongly, I don't think he would be.
I think you're probably right. He would be in the top 20, but he probably would not be.
He's probably 15 to 25. Statistically, it depends on how much you value offensive rebounding. Because rebounding, and B, offensive rebounding, I don't think there was anybody really comparable, barring the crazy 60s crap that, where everybody missed every shot and shot 35.
Okay. So I'm going to throw something else at you here, okay?
Okay.
If Jokic gets the MVP and then gets kicked by a horse tomorrow, okay, or the next day, is his career to date better than Kevin Durant's?
God, we live in a ring society, dude. Jokic has 1 ring or Jokic has 2 rings?
No, give him 1, and Durant has 2 with the Warriors.
Yeah. Jokic.
Over Durant. All time.
One team matters to me. To people like us, to old school people like us, old heads, one team's going to matter. This is Jokic's team. We're the Warriors Durant's team. We're the Warriors Curry's team. If we even have to ask the question, then we're asking a question. We're never asking whose team is the Denver Nuggets. We're not asking who's the greatest Denver Nugget in the history of the franchise.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yes, I've got Jokic ahead of Durant. I don't have Durant in my top 15.
Okay. I mean, and I get that. I do.
I'm biased. I would not fault someone for having Durant in their 12 to 15 range. I would not fault somebody for that. It really just depends on what weight you give those rings and how much you penalize him for team hopping.
Well, the other part is, like, had Curry not won the 4th one, right, I think I would weigh Durant's rings heavier for him.
He won 1 before Durant, won 1 after Durant.
Right.
So, that's kind of I'm with you, dude.
Okay, one more question for you. Historically,
okay.
At their peak, which Jokic obviously is at his peak right now, okay, who would you rather have to win a playoff series, Nikola Jokic or Shaquille O'Neal?
In today's game?
Just at the peak of their power in their era. How about that? Let's not try to cross era it.
Well, I'm going to go with Shaq right now.
Yeah. I think he was more dominant, right?
Yeah. In a completely, utterly, confusingly, shockingly difficult to, even analyze different way. It's just like completely opposite players, right? I would go with Shaq.
The thing that I want people to consider about the Shaquille era was the teams that he beat in the finals were a joke. He beat the Nets twice, right? And then he beat who was the 3rd team? I'm talking about the 3rd team with the Lakers, the Pacers. He beat the Pacers. It was a good team. The Pacers are a good team. Yeah. But the West that he had to get through, right? San Antonio, Minnesota was really good.
The Kings, the Kings, the greatest Kings teams of all time. Yeah.
To the top of the West. Anyhow, okay. So,
well, here's the deal. How about Shaquille O'Neal with 4 shooters around him in today's era where you can no longer really double team the post player?
Right. True.
Could you imagine
defensively though?
Could you imagine if Shaq? Well, I don't give a shit. Who's Jokic guarding defensively?
Exactly.
Yeah. Could you imagine a scenario where you can't run a double team at Shaq every single time on the catch, not on the dribble, on the catch? You know what I'm saying? Like he dealt with that his entire career. Jokic can't be double teamed.
No.
So that's it's like unfair. You're like, Jokic is the most efficient player ever. Yeah, well, he's playing on the nail with all the space in the world with shooters all over the place and cutters, and it's just different. It's hard to analyze and hard to make those comparisons. So the answer to your question is Jokic is in my top 15 players of all time based on paper right now. And it's primarily, and I'm not the big ring guy, you know me, like because I heavily value Wilt over Bill Russell. Right. But it's primarily because of his efficiency numbers being just unmatched and unparalleled. From an efficiency standpoint, I've just never seen anything like it. I don't think anybody's seen anything like it, throwing out the Wilt crap, right?
Yeah, but statistically, from a PER standpoint, nobody's ever done what he's done, ever.
Yeah.
I mean, from a standpoint of the number of seasons that he's put together at that level,
Yeah.
So, I mean, and think about the conversation that he's in. Wilt, LeBron, Jordan, like from a PER standpoint. That's it. So, all right.
From a PER standpoint, yeah. I want to look at, Jonathan, and again, remember, towards the end of their career, the PER will drop off. Here is your all-time PER leaders. So he's going to finish behind Jordan. I'm telling you right now. He's got a few more years where he's going to be above 28. No doubt about that, right? Because he's at like 32 or something crazy. But right. Jonathan here, let me zoom in a little bit so y'all can see it. He's going to finish behind Jordan. Because he's going to have shit years at the end unless he leaves to go race horses. Which is also quite possible, right? He could walk away at his peak, a la Jim Brown, a la, Barry Sanders, whatever. But one would think if he plays into his late 30s, that PER number, although his game does suit, it's an old man game already, I would think his PER would regress below the 28 and Jordan would remain number one. But that's neither here nor there because they're both historically great from a PER standpoint.
Well, all right. Yeah, I agree. And look, I think about that because I was fixing to say, why would he drop necessarily? He may not. But
well, he could. He's got 2, 3, 4 more years of cushion above 28. You would think, right? Yeah. The other thing is like the older he gets, maybe the less he tries to take on himself, which means his PER could actually go up. Maybe his aggregates come down, but his PER could actually go up if he's taking fewer shots. More quality shots, making more quality decisions, and all that stuff. So I don't know. Anyway, that's topic number one. You have him in your top 15?
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
I have him in my top 15 too. Assuming he gets his third and assuming he doesn't win the title, we still both have him in our top 15.
Yes.
All right.
I do. Yeah.
All right. Let's move on. Topic number 2.
And we discussed this one as well, so you should be prepared for it. Is OKC currently in the best position for future success combined with current success in the history of the league?
Yeah. Well, we brought this up because I said they were. So you know my perspective on it. And it's funny that we're talking about OKC again in a very similar situation to what was that 10, 12 years ago? How many years ago was that, Jonathan, when they had KD? People remember Russ and KD and Harden. What they don't remember is Prime Ibaka and a freaking really good Jeff Green.
Yep.
A really good young Jeff Green who was that era's Aaron Gordon, basically. So that was a filthy 5. And then, of course, that jackass made a decision to bring in, your favorite player, Kendrick Perkins, to, eat all the food in the, free buffet after the games. And he was the defensive stopper. I think it probably cost them multiple titles, to be quite honest with you, because they panicked and made that move. But it is what it is, It's funny that we're talking about the exact same franchise. The only difference between that group and this group, number one, I would probably take prime Westbrook and prime KD over prime Chet Holmgren. Obviously, that's one issue. But is the draft pick situation is just absolutely preposterous. And people are like, well, they can't use them all, so they're useless. No, because they can package the shit out of that and go out and hand pick exactly the perfect player that they want to plug in when they let Kitty Porn Josh Giddey leave because he's gone. Like he's not a long-term, piece of this puzzle in OKC. So he's going to be out. Somebody else is going to be coming in. I just worry, if you look at net rating and all that stuff, they are very much a contender with the Nuggets in the West this year. But are they in the best position? My answer to that question is I've never seen a team with better current personnel and assets than this team right this second. That's my personal opinion because I think Jalen Williams is a franchise guy.
Yeah, I do too. And I wonder. I've tried to go back and look. Everything's set up so differently now, right? It's really hard to go find another group that was set up for success for that long. Yeah. The only team that I could come up with off the top of my head was Boston back in the mid '80s before Len Bias died, right? Because when you take into account that if Bias comes through, and then they had Reggie Lewis.
I was just about to say the poor Celtics.
Like that group was set up to maybe not. I don't know how many more titles they would have won, but I think they would have won at least one or two more with them, and then they handed off to Bias and Reggie Lewis as the next guys after that. Yeah. So that was the only team I could think of. Tell me this. Okay, so out of the
15, here's Jonathan. Here's an article that I just pulled up real quick from July 8th, 2023. So about 10 months ago, 9 months ago, they had 35 draft picks. They had 15 first rounders. And I mean, it's frightening what they can do with those. I don't see them, nor should they. I don't see them being patient in like drafting lottery pick. I see them packaging things and trying to make a move for an absolutely ultra uber player and creating a big four.
Yeah, and they're young enough already. They don't need to get younger. You know what I'm saying?
A big four, Jonathan. Can you imagine a big four? Like, and I mean big. Jalen Williams is the real deal. That guy's going to make all-star teams. I consider him part of a big three right now. Yep. And he's not going to stay in OKC. He's going to be the guy that bails whenever his rookie contract's up. But can you imagine a big four where they just go out and hire a mercenary? Like who are the kind of people that we're talking about? Who's a mercenary that they could go out and pick up, for money and picks?
Yeah, that's the issue because that mercenary's got to be probably the second best player on a mediocre team. So we'd have to go through the list. But anyhow, that to me, look, Jalen Williams, and this was my next question, so that kind of segues into it. You take the big three now, because I do consider Jalen Williams part of that, like you said. You take the big three back then, compare them. Durant then is the best player of the group. I think we would agree. But who would you take? Westbrook, prime Westbrook, or prime SGA?
Well, I'm taking prime SGA to finish games and run a team. And look, Westbrook was otherworldly, right? Yes. But you got to remember that wasn't prime Harden. The Harden then is the Jalen Williams now. So what the Harden we saw on OKC was just scratching the surface. The Jalen Williams we see right now, and I'm not saying he'll be as good as Harden, right? Because that's absurd. Not that it's not impossible, but I wouldn't bet on it, right? Yeah. So we haven't seen that Jalen Williams either. So that's kind of a question. But I think they've got 2 more years of Jalen Williams on a rookie contract. He's in his second year, right? Out of Santa Clara, right?
And I would rather, it might be his third year. I'm not sure. But
is it third?
I would rather Jalen Williams today than James Harden then because of what he brings on the defensive end as well.
Because of how he fits. How he fits too. Yeah. I mean, Harden off the ball is a really good player, right? I get it. We're seeing it now with the Clippers a little bit, right? But yeah, you're right. Just the way he fits. You've got 2 ball dominant guards in front of Jalen Williams, which is really weird because Giddey is probably more of a primary ball handler than Jalen. Although Jalen runs the show. There's no question Jalen can be one of those ultra huge lead guard types. He can be not that he's gonna like replicate the numbers, but he can do what Doncic is doing. He can do what Harden did in Houston. Like he's that kind of player. Like everything goes through me. Huge usage rate, monster lead guard type, LeBron type, right? Not that he's going to replicate their numbers, but that's his place in a franchise.
You know who he reminds me of? He's obviously more athletic, but like from a size standpoint and a skill set standpoint, it's kind of like Steve Smith whenever he was with Miami. right? Before he went to Atlanta.
Yeah.
Because and no, like I said, he's more athletic, obviously, and he's better defensively. But just from a standpoint of, dude, literally can do a little bit of everything. And I think his upside is greater than Steve Smith was for sure, though.
Yeah, dude, you realize he's over 40. He's 43.6% from three.
I know.
That's a freaking crazy number.
He's an elite shooter, dude, and he's shooting like
54% from the field for a guard. What are we talking about here? 19.4, 4, and 4.6. And look, let me see how many minutes he's playing. He's got to be playing low 30s. He's not playing mid 30s. Let's see his minutes. Where's his minutes?
30
He's playing 31.7. You bump him to 35 minutes a game and give him the green light as the alpha on a team, and you're looking at somebody who's, and by the way, this is his second year. This is only his second year. Now, he did say in college he was a rookie at age 21, which is crazy now. It's like Moses, right? It's like super old for a rookie.
It's not going to be as crazy anymore, though, with NIL. It's not. Things are going to change.
Yeah, it is. Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
I'm telling you, because guys are going to come out when they're 22, 23, as opposed to like, if they're coming out at 19, they're going to come out at 19. You're right. Okay. But I'm saying if they're waiting one more year, some of those guys will just wait 2 more years and come out because they're making more money.
I don't know.
Because they're not going to be I mean, if you're getting drafted as a 20 or 21-year-old, that means you're probably not going to be a super, super high draft pick because you've spent 2 to 3 years in college already. So you might as well stay and make some more money. I don't know. Just my thought. That's irrelevant, though.
Yeah, it's confusing because if I'm 19, if you're 19 and you're a lottery pick, you're the reason you're going pro is you want to get to the second contract as soon as you can.
Yeah, you're going out then for sure.
And NIL is just delaying that, and so it's tough. I see it. There's an incongruency there. Yeah. But you're right. Those mid-level first-round pick guys or late first guys, may be inclined to stay. What's an average like really good college player who would be a first-round pick, but maybe not a lottery pick? What are those guys getting in NIL money, Jonathan?
Well, obviously, depending on the university, right?
Yeah.
But if it's a Power 5, if it's a major, I mean, those dudes will probably make, 400, 500 grand in a year. They may make.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah, some of them for sure. Yeah.
You think there's like 4 or 5 guys in Kentucky making $250,000?
I would bet. Yeah.
Yeah. Duke, Kentucky, Carolina,
Kansas. Yeah. Those guys.
Kansas, the blue blood stuff,
Yeah. I would like to see. I thought Jalen Williams was shooting more threes. He's only shooting 3.5. I'd like to see that number go up a little bit. I mean,
if you're shooting 44%, I'd like to see him shoot 14 of them.
Yeah.
I'll give back 2% and I'll take 14 threes at 40%. How's that? Is that fair? Is that a fair trade-off? And he'll be averaging like 37. Right. Anyway, all right. So you agree? You think they're in the best position? How do they screw it up? This is the question I asked you. How do they screw it up? And the answer is they put together a massive package for an injury risk type player, or some horrific injury situation strikes them to SGA or to Chet. Because you take Chet off that team, they immediately become a good, not great team. Fair?
Yeah. Yes.
You can't take – well, first of all, who's their backup big? It's the fake Jalen Williams, who's really like, what is he, 6'8", 6'9", and ground bound and sort of a Kevon Looney type.
Yeah.
I don't think that they went out. That's kind of what people were curious is like, why didn't Presti go out and get somebody that really is relevant other than Gordon Hayward? Why didn't they go out and get Gafford? Like, why didn't OKC get Gafford? Not only did they not get Gafford, they kind of – I think they kind of helped Dallas get Gafford. I don't know. That team would look a lot different if they had Gafford as their backups, center. Gafford's a starting center now in Dallas. I mean, he's a nice rim running big, man. He's a nice defensive rim running big out of Arkansas.
Well, and you need him. You got to have him in the West for sure, especially if you're going to deal with that dude. But not that anybody can deal with him, but you just need to be able to throw as many bodies at him as you can.
Yeah.
Talking about Jokic, obviously. So I think the only way they screw this up is if they screw it up with the guy we're talking about, Jalen Williams, down the road, because I think SGA, the reason why I think they're so set up for success, obviously they're young, obviously they got a bunch of draft picks, but they seem to have super solid dudes. Like these guys seem like SGA seems like a super solid. I mean, hell, he's waited 2-3 years for this to materialize to begin with. And then Holmgren, I don't know him, but he just seems like, okay, he's got to be on that contract for another 3 years. So why would you 2 more years. I'm sorry.
Because he's same as Jalen Williams, right? They're 2 in, yeah.
That's right. So if you freaked out and put Jalen Williams in a package for somebody, more experienced and a little bit more productive at this point, which shit, there ain't many guys more productive.
Jalen Williams is not going to be traded. He's on a rookie contract, and he's outperforming his contract slightly. That's the only way they screwed up, in my opinion. Well, here's the deal. You got to let one go and keep one. Let's just say salary cap demands you can only keep one. I think they could keep both theoretically, in theory, if they wanted, but you can only keep one, Chet or Jalen Williams, to pair with SGA. Who you keeping? I agree, because of the fit.
Yep.
There's no overlap. There's no overlap between SGA's skill set and Chet's, and there's little overlap between Jalen Williams and SGA. There's a lot of overlap between Giddey and everybody else. He is, we're sitting here talking about a team that's going to potentially win the West, and they're all like babies.
Yeah.
And everybody's bad-mouthing Giddey because he can't shoot, right? We know that.
Yep.
But the dude moves the ball, and his fit is weird, but it's working, man.
He's a good player, man.
He's a good player. You put that guy, like you throw that guy, like take LaMelo Ball out of Charlotte. Not that LaMelo Ball's really in Charlotte because he never plays. But let's just give Charlotte's point guard. Let's give Orlando Josh Giddey as their point guard. Out with Suggs, out with Fultz, out with fill in the blank, 7 other point guards, Cole Anthony, go down the list.
Yep.
Put Giddey in Orlando and say 36 minutes a game.
Yep. It's
your show. This dude's going to be averaging probably like 16 and 12. Like he is a pass first, big plus size point guard who can do some things. So that's their best hope, is to package Giddey in a bunch of these picks, send it to a team that needs that lead point guard, that pass first point guard, and kind of go from there. Giddey's obviously off the court exploits probably didn't help his trade value, although it looks like he's going to completely skirt that. It's going to be completely swept under the rug.
Last question for you about OKC. Okay, if the big 4 is the route you think they ought to go, what is that spot that they need?
I know, because, I'm thinking, Jonathan, in a game 7 in the Western Conference Finals, we laugh and make fun of this guy because we think he could murder somebody, or probably has murdered somebody, but I like Lou Dort guarding Jamal Murray.
Love him.
I don't want to take Lou Dort off the floor. And now that he's making threes, it's like, holy shit, you're telling me this is the nastiest, strongest, most physical perimeter defender possibly out there to guard Jamal Murray, and he's going to shoot, high 30% from 3 or 40% from 3 on catch and shoots. Yeah, it's going to be hard to take him off the court. I think Giddey's the one who's on the bench watching those guys play. I would go out and get a freakishly athletic 4 or a the 4 position is what they need, because I think what makes them special is that Chet Holmgren plays the 5, right? I think he has to play the 5.
For sure.
And so I think you go out there and you get a freakishly athletic 4, and then you go SGA, then you go Dort to guard whoever the other team's best player. And by the way, SGA is no slouch on defense.
No.
He's a problem. Yeah. So SGA, Dort, and Jalen Williams, 1 through 3. You got Chet at the 5, and then you go out there and you find the best fit at that 4 position. 5. It needs to be a bouncy guy with a little girth that can shoot threes. I'm thinking of a Mehmet Okur maybe. No, but seriously, something like that. You could even get away with a poor defensive 4. You know what I'm saying? Because you got so many good defenders around. You could get away with just a knockdown, get me buckets, catch and shoot 4 with plus size that can't necessarily guard. I don't know. You can go a lot of different directions, but that's the only void that they have. And look, Cason Wallace is a freaking good player. That Vicic guy that they let go was a damn good player. He's lighting it up in Charlotte. For whatever reason, it didn't work out. And I think Trey Mann's a good player. And he's out the door as well. So they let some really good talent go in that Hayward deal. And that's a debacle. Gordon Hayward's done.
Yeah, done. Been done, by the way.
Agreed, right? He's done. Like, can't guard anybody, can't score, can't exploit anybody. Like, I don't understand his purpose on this team. That was not a good move. So that was the first chink in the armor, bad decision that I think that they made. But we'll see. We'll let it play out in the playoffs. They're going to be patient. They're going to let these playoffs go and then let the playoffs dictate, how patient they're going to be.
Yeah. See,
Like if they're out in the second round or something like that, I think maybe they're more aggressive. If they go to Game 7 in the Western Conference and lose to the Nuggets win the title, I think they're going to be a little bit more patient.
Yeah, I'm with you. But this kind of goes against what you were saying about a Big Four, because the guy you're describing is not a member of a Big Four. Like he's just a freakishly athletic role player.
That's right. No, he's not.
So I think that's exactly what they need, which I'm glad you said that. I didn't think you were going to go that route. I thought you might go the route of a experienced wing scorer or something like that based on your Big Four theory.
Yeah.
I just think they need a freaking dog around the rim. I know this is going to sound crazy, but like I'm in my mind, I have like a Kenneth Fareed type dude.
Yeah, like a Precious Achua, a better Precious Achua or Fareed or, I'm thinking of guys like that. I mean, Gafford's not the guy because Gafford's the 5. He can only guard the 5, right? And he can't shoot to save his life. He will not shoot a basketball from the perimeter. So he's not the guy. He would have been the guy for this year's playoff run, I think, to have somebody when Chet gets in foul trouble, which he will against Jokic, as he's prone to do. But I don't know. So, yeah, we agree. They're in an unbelievable position where they're just going to package picks and make a decision in the offseason. So we'll see. Giddey is really the wild card, is like, what do they do with him? All right, what else? What else we got?
All right, third topic. We should have some fun with this one, I think.
You told me you have a buffet of potential third topics.
Yeah, and really there's just two that stick out to me, but I'm gonna throw this one at you.
Okay.
All right. So which player from today's game, and they are in their form today, this is how they play, all right, would average the most points in the 1980s? Now, people who aren't as into, I guess, the historical side of things, like people who talk all the time, like when you hear these old heads talk about, they were more physical back then, they were this, they were that. Well, yeah, they were more physical because they could punch you in the face and not get kicked out of the game.
Okay? The actual fouls were more physical, yes.
Right. However, if you go back and watch a game in the 1980s, and you go watch an old finals game, Lakers-Celtics, okay, and watch the fact that Dennis Johnson is dribbling around 16, 17 feet from the goal, completely uncontested.
Just go wherever you feel like it.
And Dennis Johnson was an average mid-range shooter, okay?
Yeah.
And they backed off all the way, okay? And that, threes weren't like – defense was so much worse then than it is now. So much worse. And schematically, it was terrible, okay?
Yeah.
Everything was congested. You take a player from today and you put them back then, who would average the most points?
I am going to go with the player that averages the most points right now, Luka Doncic, or close to the most points right now. I'm just going to go with the guy. I just think guys like that figure shit out. Like, I don't think there's anything you could throw at Luka Doncic that he would not be able to figure out. So I'm going to say Luka.
Okay. Well, he was as big as the fours then, right?
What is he, Jonathan? 6'8", 240, 6'7", 240?
6'8", probably 240, 250. Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to say now, and this may come across.
Don't you say Andre Drummond.
I'm not saying Andre Drummond.
Okay.
My only hesitation here is because you could punch somebody in the face back then. I'm not sure how long this guy lasts. Okay. But I think Steph really might average 40 to 45.
Steph would be okay back then. Yeah, but you can hand check, Jonathan, with two hands.
So?
Well, Steph's not nearly as effective if you put two hands on him.
That's fair. What about
Alvin Robertson putting two hands on Steph Curry is going to be a problem. Literally, you want to go by me? Here, let me just armbar you and put you right back in front of me. It's a little – I would go with the bigger dudes. I think LeBron would go freaking bananas back then.
You're probably right. Durant would struggle with the hand-checking thing too, wouldn't he? Because he's always struggled like when they get to the playoffs. I don't know, man. Can you imagine Durant back in the 80s? Good God. Like Kevin McHale's guarding Durant.
I'll tell you some names from the 80s that would struggle in today's game. Dominique Wilkins comes to mind. It would be a little bit different for Neekers. No offense to the maybe one of the greatest Hawks players of all time. Greatest Hawks player? Is he great? No, Pettit. Pettit would be the greatest. Well, I mean, I don't know.
Speaking of guys who would struggle in today's game, Bob Pettit might.
Bob Pettit might struggle in today's NBA. He might, as would every other human being that played basketball in the 60s and early 70s. Yeah, that's an interesting topic. It's funny, and you're going to get some, pitchforks and torches, and people are going to hate you for saying that. But like, was it more physical in the 80s? Yeah, it was more physical because you had 10 guys within arm's length of each other, like freaking 80% of the game. Yeah. Because they didn't respect the three-point shot because nobody had the green light to take them.
Right.
I forgot the statistic, but like here, I'm going to look it up right now. If you go ahead, I'm just going to ask you, most threes ever made by Larry Bird. People would consider Larry Bird like the best three-point shooter of the mid to late 80s, right? Most threes Bird ever made in a season.
I'm going to say 110.
Let me get the totals. How do I get the totals? Hang on. How do I get the totals?
We'll just look at the number of games and multiply it by the.
I'm not doing that. It's too hard. Here we go. 98.
How about that? He never made 100. Never made 100.
No, he led the league with 82 one year. By the way, they play 82 games in a season. He led the league with 82. Now, here's the deal. Could Bird shoot it? Hell yeah. He went through a 4-year stretch, 42.7, 42.3, 40% on the nose, and 41%. Yeah. His last year in the league at age 35, he shot over 40% from three. And he was really getting them up with 128 taken that year, which Steph takes in a 2-week period.
By the way.
But yeah, I mean, think about that, man. Bird would be an unstoppable freak of nature force in this era. Think about Jokic only a shooter and as good a passer. That's what Bird would be.
Yes, and as poor of a defender, so it wouldn't matter. Who cares?
It wouldn't matter. Bird would play the exact same game that Dirk Nowitzki played. Dirk Nowitzki would be an amazing player in today's era too. There's a lot of players from back then that could step into today's era and really flourish. Namely, less athletic people who can pass and shoot the shit out of it.
Well, the funny part is,
it translates.
Bird is the guy of all of them that everybody's like, oh, he would never fit today because he couldn't guard anybody. He couldn't guard anybody then.
So no, he couldn't guard anybody. What? Yeah. People also forget Larry Bird was a humongous human being.
By the way, 6'10". Yeah. I know he listed as 6'9", but he was
6'9", 6'9 and a half, 2'4", 35, 240, but like country strong, beautiful golden tan too. Somewhere underneath, beautiful bronze. Yeah. And an awesome mullet on occasion.
Oh, for quite some time, actually. Not on occasion, for quite some time.
Yeah. All right, what else? You had some honorable mention topics. Give me some more.
So, and I guess this topic may go back to a lot of people in their childhood, is my thought, but which decade was the most fun basketball to watch? The most fun.
It's so warped.
The beauty of the game. I'm talking about you just loved watching basketball during this decade.
Yeah, the 90s. This is Jordan's era, dude.
Right. Me too.
That's a really loaded question for people like you and me, who our hero is Michael Jordan. We've, tried to mimic our game after Michael Jordan. We've sat down and watched every Jordan game you could possibly watch. Yeah. I mean, he's the greatest team sport athlete of all time. No offense to Wayne Gretzky, and Phil Rizzuto. But, I mean, I got to say the Jordan era was unquestionably, at least for me, my fondest memories of watching basketball. And I'll be honest with you, I know there's a bunch of grumpy old bastards who bitch about the NBA right now and the points they're scoring. I love this shit. I love watching it, man. There are things that I think need to be changed a little bit, but I really enjoy watching usually 9.5 skilled players on the court at any given time. 8 to 9.5 skilled players on the court that can all shoot a basketball. And people are always like, well, they don't play defense anymore. No, they can't guard these people. Right. Unless they shrink the court or, people get a foot taller, there's just too much space for skilled basketball players to exploit. Not just shooting. That's one skill. It's the most important skill. Ball handling, passing, decision-making, IQ is up, shooting ability is up, ball handling ability is up, athleticism is up. There's only so much better you can get at actually guarding a person with the ball. You can't really improve that much, can you?
No,
But
I agree.
offensively, you can, as a team, get significantly more skilled because we're seeing it happen where it's just the skill level today is just so far and away better than it was in the 80s and 90s. And we're 80s and 90s lovers. So if we're admitting it, then it must be true. I just don't think you can guard today's modern NBA.
The funny thing to me is the transition everybody thinks started, with the Warriors into today's deal. It did not. It started in the 90s. Now, granted, they did not shoot a bunch of threes back then, but the fact that back then, and I know Don Nelson gets a lot of credit for this, but he really didn't start this. The inversion of the post play, in other words, putting guards in the post. Okay, Michael Jordan was the best ever at that, and having bigs step away from the goal, like the 3 or 4 white dudes that played for the Bulls were an example. Lambeer was an example of that, right?
Yeah.
So they started to invert that action and having bigs step away and make jump shots. That was the beginning of all of this.
Yeah.
Where, and people really don't realize it because, again, those bigs weren't stepping away and making threes, right?
Yeah. Well, they started to at some point, like your Matt Bullards, and he's not really a big, but he's big as 7 feet tall. Those basically, they would call them Euros or pick and pops or whatever. Yeah, I think it's the Suns. I think that Suns team with Nash and Amari and the Matrix, Sean Marion and Rod Bell and all those guys, and I think that was where the transition really started.
Yeah, I would.
They won so many regular season games, and then the question was, well, can you really win a title like this? We don't know if you can really win the big one like this. People say Steph Curry changed the game. I think the game was changing whether Steph Curry changed it or not. Yeah. I mean, if Steph Curry never existed, they'd say Klay Thompson changed the game. It's just they just happened to be the most prolific shooter at a time where the NBA over a few years decided, wait, let's look at these numbers. 33% from 3 is 50% from 2. Yep. 50% from 2 is hard to do, but 33% from 3 is easy to do. Why don't we just start shooting more threes and see what happens? And then it was like, oh, shit, this works. Let's just do it. And then everybody started doing it. Whether Curry was there or not, I think he was just, the face of it, but I don't think he changed it. I don't think everybody's like, well, let's just do what the Warriors do because they didn't have the personnel to do that. I think it started before that. Just pace and space predated Steph Curry.
Right. And he didn't do that at the beginning of his career. I mean, he shot threes up.
That's something that people forget too. And that's why I'm like, Steph Curry didn't change the NBA. Look, I'm going to pull up Steph's stats. I remember looking at this. I'm going to read to you 3-point field goals attempted by Steph Curry. And we'll do per game on a per game basis because that's really what matters, right? Watch this because he was hurt a lot. So we'll look at 3-point attempts per game for Steph Curry. I mean, dude, I don't think you understand how disparate the difference is.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
I'm just going to read. He's had how many seasons is that? 15 seasons.
Okay.
4.8.
Which he takes in the first quarter now, by the way. Which he takes in the first quarter now.
Just wait till I get to the end of this because it's building to a crescendo we haven't reached yet. Okay. 4.8, 4.6, 4.7. 7.7 was the first big jump. 7.9, 8.1, 11.2 was the next big jump. So that's more than double the first season he played just 4 or 5 years ago. 10, 9.8, 11.7, at that point a career high, back to 9.8, but he only played 5 games that year because he got injured. Yep. And then he comes back off injury, 12.7, 11.7, 11.4, 12.0.
Yeah. Question for you. The first championship year, which would have been, I think, 15-16. I think that's when that was. How many did he take then?
11. That was the second big jump from 8 to 11.2. He more than 3 a game difference.
Yeah.
And it doesn't sound like a ton, but you got to remember he's not playing 12 minutes a quarter. So he's taking, he's playing 30 minutes a game. Now he's playing 32 minutes a game and taking 12 threes. That means he's taking a 3, every 2.5 minutes.
Well, not just that. He does play around the rim more than people give him credit for. He really does.
For sure.
Anyhow, yeah, that's interesting. Very, very interesting. Yeah. So the 90s, I would agree for to kind of wrap this up. The 90s for me would be the most fun again because of Michael Jordan. However, if you took Michael Jordan in that era out, would I want to watch them dump the ball into Patrick Ewing and him bounce it? No. Would I want to watch Charles Barkley do the same? No. Would I want
Olajuwon?
Yeah.
David Robinson. It's all the same.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It wasn't the most exciting brand of basketball, but it was the most exciting player that ever lived. And so it just warps. It's just not a question that we're going to be able to objectively answer because our opinion is so warped and biased and Jordan centric and Jordan focused, and I get a lot of shit from my channel being so hyper Jordan. But, what am I going to do? I'm not going to be somebody that I'm not. I'm not going to talk about stuff I don't care about, Right. So, I agree. Has the NBA ever had more top tier talented alphas, more like potentially historically good alphas at one point than right now today? Listen to me. I'm going to pull up the standings and we're going to go team to team. And we're going to, and I keep banging on Dominique Wilkins for some reason, but we could talk about Reggie Miller. We could talk about Dominique Wilkins. We can talk about, give me some more great players from the,
Patrick
90s. Patrick. So I'm just going to go team by team and you tell me how many teams have guys that you think can finish in the top 50 of all time. Celtics, Tatum. 100% Tatum could be a top 50 player of all time.
Yeah. Yes.
100%, right? He's not done. He's still young.
Yes.
Bucks, Giannis, already top 15.
Yes.
The Knicks have Jalen Brunson. I would bet that Jalen Brunson's not going to be a top 50 player of all time. Cleveland Cavaliers, Donovan Mitchell.
I would say no, but he's on the fringe, potentially. Yeah. Well, think about it this way. You don't consider Reggie Miller a top 50 player of all time, but there's a lot of people that do. Is Donovan Mitchell a better player than Reggie Miller?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, so
I'm literally, people are going to threaten my life. Old people like me are going to threaten my life, but go look at the numbers. It's not era. It is not even remotely close how much better Donovan Mitchell is than Reggie Miller. It is not even remotely close. Now, don't ask me who I want to take one shot in the fourth quarter because that's not what we're talking about. That's Reggie Miller over almost anybody, but Donovan Mitchell is so much better than I'm just waiting for the comments to this. Of course, nobody's still watching at this point, but Donovan Mitchell is so much better than Reggie Miller. It's not even funny. How about Orlando Magic, Paulo Banchero?
I mean, it's too early.
Too early. Franz Wagner is a great player. Too early. Indiana Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton. He's a product of this era and what that ultra lead guard we just talked about. Jalen Williams could be an ultra lead guard. Tyrese is the definition of an ultra lead guard. Before he got injured, he was putting up SGA numbers.
Oh, dude, he was
MVP city, right? As far as numbers. Miami Heat, we got Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler, top 50 player of all time.
Man, he's a top 10 most underrated player of all time. Probably.
He is for sure.
I'm not going to top 50. I don't think. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. 76ers Embiid, done. Obviously. Chicago Bulls, nobody. Hawks. Trae Young would be the conversation piece, and it's too early in his career, and little people don't win titles, so that would be tough. Right. Brooklyn Nets, no chance. Toronto Raptors, Scotty Barnes too young. Charlotte Hornets, LaMelo Ball never plays. Wizards, nobody. Detroit Pistons, Cade Cunningham too young to tell. Denver Nuggets, Jokic, we've talked about him. He's clearly. Timberwolves, Anthony Edwards, there's something horrific would have to happen for him to not be a top 50 player of all time. Thunder, SGA already. Chet Holmgren, probably the way he plays. I doubt, it just depends. He needs 17. Clippers, Kawhi Leonard, yes. George, top 50 player of all time?
No, but close. But see, there's another guy. Like, take him.
Top 50 talent of all time. He's got no identity. He's the guy, like, he has no identity. He's Mitch Richmond. Yeah. And his numbers are better than Mitch, probably. But he's got, you know what I'm saying? Like, when you say Mitch Richmond, what do you think of?
No, just really, really, really good player.
Good, yeah. Really good, not great, has nothing to show for it, was never first, you know what I mean? Yeah. Paul George is kind of the same way. He's like top 50 talent.
If you're a top 50 player, would you agree that to be a top 50 player of all time, you have to have been the best player on your team for multiple years?
No.
You do not agree with that?
I do not agree with that.
Okay, give me an example.
Scottie Pippen.
Yeah, good point. Is there another one?
Probably just John Sally. I can't think of another one. No, here's the other question. To be a top 50 player, how many top 50 players are shorter than 6'3" or shorter?
Yeah, that's a good point too. Isaiah.
There's
Steph,
three I can think of. There's three I can think of. I don't.
Iverson, Isaiah, and Steph.
No, there's four. There's four then. Steph,
And
Stockton, Isaiah,
Lillard,
Iverson, Lillard.
Oh, Stockton.
And
Lillard's fringe. He's kind of like Paul George to me, you know.
He is. Tiny Archibald, top 50 of all time.
That's so hard for me, man.
And Oscar Robertson was taller than 6'3", right? Wasn't he like 6'4", 6'5"? Yeah. Who are we forgetting that's little people? You know, it's hard for those little people because we've done this exercise. There's only, if you consider Steph Curry little, that's fine. Then there's two, and then Kuzi, I guess, would be top 50. But now we're getting into craziness back in the.
No, I can't.
I hate that. It gives me anxiety because I'm like, I don't want to dismiss these guys because you can only beat what's put in front of you, and you can only be as good as modern technology and science allows at the time. And Kuzi did everything you could ever want of a player in that era, but it's like, and then you watch it and you're like, Jesus, man, let me go watch this fucking JV game here in town and pick out 9 guys that would piss on Kuzi. I mean, again, we sound like what do they call them? Huh?
All right,
we sound like the young guys who are like LeBron's better than Jordan.
Yeah.
So we're talking out of two sides of our mouth. Let me finish. Pelicans. Ingram is on the Paul George route.
Yeah,
fair.
Not even yet.
Not yet, but he's a lot younger than Paul George. So Ingram's on that pathway to being. Beal is on that pathway. These are guys that it's like, what do you do with these guys historically? In the card world, we talk about these guys. Nobody gives a shit about these guys, Jonathan.
CJ McCollum, obviously you're assuming.
Yeah, that's your favorite guy, your favorite player, right?
But you're assuming he's top 50, right?
I'm assuming he is top 25. Yes, top 25 players named CJ. CJ Miles, CJ McCollum, Chris Jackson. I'm trying to think of all the CJs. He's top 25 CJs.
Okay, all right.
Do you think Zion finishes his career as a top 50 player?
No, I just don't trust him being healthy.
What is the percentage that Zion finishes his career as? Even it could even be argued that he's a top 50 player.
Less than 10.
I think it's 0.
Yeah,
I shouldn't say 0. I think it's 1% because Ingram could win him 3 titles. I think it's 1%. You know why I think that? Because I don't think he's a top 20 player right now.
I agree. By the way, thank you. I agree. I don't think he impacts the game in the top 20.
If we start naming the best players in the NBA,
he's not that.
I don't think he gets in there.
Yeah. I mean, if you said most unstoppable players, if they're healthy and decide to go score, I'd probably put him in the top 20, but he doesn't impact the game, man. Although
that's a great topic. Is Zion a top 20 NBA player right now? Right. Is Zion better than, I mean, you and I are pretty biased towards offense. Is Zion better than Wembanyama right now?
No.
Not even. I don't think it's even close. How about this? I'm going to give you a list. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Jokic. Doncic. I'm not going to ask. I'm just telling you. Jokic, Doncic, Anthony Davis, Wembanyama, LeBron James. Is Zion better than any of those people?
No.
Jason Tatum?
No.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander?
No.
Kevin Durant?
No.
Devin
Booker, no.
Devin Booker is 9. Giannis is 10. Is he better than Lillard right now?
No.
Not better than Lillard.
I don't.
11. Is he better than Kyrie Irving?
You know my thoughts on that. So
Jaylen Brown.
Now that is one I was waiting for you to bring up because that's interesting. That's
right now. Zion is 12th. Jaylen Brown and Kyrie Irving is a conversation.
Okay.
De'Aaron Fox.
No, I take Fox.
Okay, so now Zion's 13th. Jamal Murray.
I would rather Jamal Murray. Yeah.
Anthony Edwards.
Yes, for sure.
Right now Zion's 15. Yeah. Kawhi Leonard. Now he's 16. Paul George. He's with the Kyrie Irving and the Jaylen Brown.
Yes.
I mean
yeah
he's James Harden right now.
No, I'd take Zion.
You take Zion. Yeah. Halliburton. You take Halliburton.
Healthy.
Right? Yeah. How about this? Here's a really good. We didn't say Embiid yet. So now Zion is 18th. Zion's 18th right now, and I'm not even close to done because this is a tough one here. Tyrese Maxey.
Whew. Now, you're saying Zion's healthy, but with the potential to always be hurt, right?
I'm just saying perfectly healthy Zion this year. He's been pretty damn healthy. Is Zion better than Tyrese Maxey?
I'd take Zion as a
I'd take Tyrese Maxey. That's where we disagree.
But how about that? That's a discussion, in my opinion, though.
It's a discussion. So we got Zion somewhere in the
30,
17 to 25.
Oh,
worst case 25. Yeah. Best case 17th.
You haven't gotten through. I mean, would you rather Karl Anthony Towns than Zion?
Oh, yeah. What about Şengün?
I'm just saying, man. I think you could get close to 30. I really do.
You might be. There's going to be a lot of back and forth, right? And this is two guys from Louisiana who want to give him the benefit of the doubt. What about Jalen Brunson?
Yeah, I'd take Brunson for sure.
You would take Brunson?
Yeah.
What about Banchero? Well, I'd probably take him over Banchero.
Yeah.
Dude, that's tough because, yeah, you're right. Well, now I'm kind of getting into the Desmond. How about Ja Morant? We didn't talk about Ja Morant.
Yeah, I would take Ja Morant. Yeah.
Okay, sure. So Zion's definitely not a top 20 player.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's with a really, really healthy Zion.
He's just the same. Hey, he's not the same. He's healthy, but he's not the same that he was explosion-wise.
He's 22.7, 5.8, 5.1, shooting 58.6%. Did you know he's shooting 35.7% from three? That's pretty good. I was surprised. Yeah. 70% free throws. His PER is 23, which is pretty high.
He averages 5 rebounds a game. I have a problem with that.
That's impossible. It's fucking impossible.
He's huge and still can really jump. He's not
ridiculous. God, don't you just want the ball? Just want it for me.
I don't know.
I mean, he honestly should average 11 steals a game. You know, just give me the ball back. I want the ball back. My arms are bigger than your legs, and I'm faster than you, jump higher than can change directions like a guard. Give me the ball back.
Yep.
He has been on a pretty good heater lately, notwithstanding a game where he had 4 against the Heat. Like, top 20 players, they don't have games where they score 4.
I don't believe, and you know, I made a statement earlier. If you top 20 most unstoppable offensive players, I'm not even sure he's that, man. Like, there was a time before he got hurt.
He doesn't have skill. I've watched these games. It drives me nuts. He goes left and throws his shoulder into your teeth.
But, dude, 2 years ago, there was nothing you could do about him because if you backed off of him, he just eliminated space and jumped over and through you.
And through, yeah.
Right. So, but he didn't do that anymore.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Yeah. He's averaging 22.7. He averaged 26 last year. He averaged 27 the year before that.
Right. Right.
It's different. Yep. He's averaging less rebounds. He averaged 7 and 7.2 rebounds those 2 years. He's averaging more assists. Everything else. Yeah. Yeah. That's going to be the thumbnail is Zion Williamson is not a top 20 player, and that'll be the clickbait. And we only talked about it for 5 minutes, and we talked about a million other things, but I'm going to put that on the thumbnail.
Perfect, because that'll draw a lot.
Let's do this again in a week and come up with some more completely random-ass topics that I'm utterly unprepared for.
Okay. You want me to come up with them again? Done.
Sure.
Easy.
Yeah. Comment below if you've got a topic, and this is something we're getting better at. I just thought of it. I want you guys to tell us what you want us to talk about. It can be old head shit, old blood stuff from the 80s, the 90s. We were alive in the 70s, but, you know, I was watching the Kentucky Colonels in my crib, and you were probably, you know, you had an LSU basketball and a little LSU onesie on. We could talk about 70s, 80s, 90s. We could talk about modern NBA. We could talk about anything you want. We compare the two eras like we did a little bit today. You let us know in the comments what you want us to talk about on next week's episode, and we will get it done. Anything else, Jonathan? Any parting shots? By the way, who do you think has the longest winning streak in the NBA? And it's not even remotely close.
The Houston Rockets.
Double. They've won 10 in a row, and they are pushing for the 10th spot so they can upset the Nuggets in round 1. Yes? You don't think they're ready?
Your guy, Dylan Brooks.
You don't think they're ready?
Yeah. And I love that they're better without Şengün, right? That's the big deal now. Yeah.
Anyway. Last question. Who does the number 1 seed in the West? Okay, so here, let me just pull up the standings. Here's your standings, Jonathan. I don't know if you knew it was this tight. Nuggets are a half game up on the T-Wolves, who are tied with the Thunder. So there's 3 teams battling for that top spot in the West, and they have 70. Damn, the Nuggets only have the Nuggets have 9 games left, and then the T-Wolves and the Thunder have 10 games left, and they're all tied in the loss column. So who does home court advantage mean the most to? Who does home court advantage mean the least to? I think we can agree the Nuggets need it the least.
They need it the least. The Timberwolves need it.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah,
I think you're right. I think it's a push.
Depending on Cat's health.
Yeah, Cat's got to get back. The Timberwolves and the Thunder are, they're both young. I say that. I guess the Timberwolves really aren't that young, not like the Thunder. But the problem with the Timberwolves is there's an end in sight. From what I understand, their financial situation is they're going to have to make some massive decisions. So you're never going to see this Timberwolves team again.
Correct.
I'm not saying who's there, who's not there, but you won't see this roster again. It can't exist financially. But the Thunder have such a blank canvas, and they can go in so many different directions and pick and choose how they improve. That is the team. If you said, which team, Jonathan, out of the 30 NBA teams right now, which team, you could pick one team, is most likely to win the most titles in the next 7 years? You got to pick one team.
The Denver Nuggets.
I would say the Celtics.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the West. I'm sorry.
No. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. In the whole NBA, the team that if you're on FanDuel and you're like, here's my bets, and it all pays the same, you just got to pick of the 30 teams, which team is the most likely to win the most titles in the next 7 years?
Boston. I would agree.
You go Boston? I would be choosing between Boston and OKC.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you, go back down to the West real quick before we get out of here. If you look at that, I'm going to tell you right now, Denver's the only team out of those top 3 that has no reason to fear the Clippers. The Minnesota and OKC, the Clippers will be a problem for them.
Oh, for sure.
For sure.
So would the effing Mavericks. They won 9 out of 10. It's starting to click. I mean, I know it sounds funny, like I'm sweating Gafford's nuts. Yeah. Freaking Daniel Gafford he is a young Tyson Chandler for that team, and that shit matters because they were soft as baby shit on defense. And Daniel Gafford is a rim protector extraordinaire, and he eats the glass. And when he gets in foul trouble, Lively's coming in to try to do the exact same thing, not quite at that level of maturity, but damn bouncy, and does the exact same thing as Gafford.
Yep, they have bodies for sure.
And I've been down on the Mavericks because I just thought his supporting cast was terrible, but they're starting to click, and he's just that good, dude.
Yep.
He's just that good. So, all right, let's kill it. That's an hour and 6 minutes. That's a good episode in the books, Jonathan. We're going to do this again. Don't forget to let us know in the comments what do you want us to talk about. Also, do me a favor, and if you haven't subscribed, subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button if you like these episodes. Give us some positive feedback so my friend here knows he's wanted on the channel, and we can keep doing this. As we get towards the playoffs, probably going to bring you on a lot more, Jonathan, with those pinkies. Well, that really is just the one pinky.
That's right.
Are both your pinkies jacked up or just the one?
No, I'm just showing the difference between the two.
I wanted to show you. No, that's
good one, and then one really nice.
That ain't great.
Yeah, it's not good.
That ain't great right there. But show yours. Get it closer.
Yeah, you want some of that right there.
Nope. I don't want any piece of that. I don't want any part of that at all. Imagine how good a shooter you could have been if you had normal human fingers. Instead of that tentacle that you got hanging off the edge of your hand.
Fair, yeah.
Yeah. All right, cool. Thank you guys for watching. Keep collecting, stay positive in the hobby, and peace.